So I saw the latest adaptation of Doctor Dolittle, and needless to say, I was rather disappointed by the movie. Of course, one of the few positives I could give about this movie was the fact that my first impression of it as an audience member was pretty okay. There's a thing or two to like about this movie, but unfortunately, this film's got a lot more negatives than positives. It's so weird. It's almost as if it's made by
Are you serious?
Yep, that's right. The same studios that brought you the masterpiece that was Cats was involved with Dolittle. And honestly, I'm going to love talking about what happened after this movie was released. Because let me tell you, this film ended up becoming a disaster. It's not as terrifying as Cats, so that was a plus. But that's about it. Advertising was pretty standard. You rarely see much advertising for movies on cable these days, so at least they know that it's time for people to start seeing stuff on the internet since the exposure potential is clearly there. Trailers were mostly scattered across Instagram as promotional material, and of course there's the usual YouTube advertising, which really doesn't do the movie any justice at all. However, perhaps the attract card was different in the sense that Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland was part of the cast in this movie. Now don't get me wrong, with how huge the Marvel Cinematic Universe has become, everyone in their fucking minds are just going full rave over Tony Stark and Peter Parker when you push aside all the gay ships and Instagram posts about MCU alternate universes, which is weird. Universal must have seen the chemistry between these two and thought to themselves, if those two act together in a different movie, then it must be successful. And next thing they knew, they got them in and they got a bunch of good A-list actors to fill up the gaps. Yes, believe it or not, they really didn't learn from Cats at all, in the sense that film stars don't make the movie. And again, they had to pay the price for this one. Shambolic reviews, which I kinda was expecting to some degree, but a lot of people really like this movie, and I am totally fine with that. Even I enjoyed it when I watched the movie the first time. It's kinda natural to not pay any attention to detail so that you can watch a movie and enjoy it. However, it doesn't change the fact that it is currently looking to be a serious box office bomb. It's only managed to make just under $1 million so far against a budget of $175 million. It's hard to confirm its status as a financial failure since it's only been in release for just over a week now, but the signs are definitely showing at this point, and it isn't good for a company like Universal to keep hemorrhaging money like this. They ended the decade with a terrible movie, now they're starting it with another terrible movie. So now you're wondering, what went wrong? The timing was terrible. They actually picked a bad time to put this movie on the air for the public to see. Around the time Dolittle was released, it had to face fierce competition from Best Picture nominee 1917 and a film from a certain YouTuber named Will Smith. Bad Boys for Life. The film was something many people were hyped to watch because, I mean, come on, it's Will Smith. Not to mention that the Bad Boys series was pretty solid, and it's mostly thanks to him and Martin Lawrence's slick chemistry between each other. And now Sony is looking to get a major profit from the returns of this movie. 1917 was getting some serious attention after the Best Picture nominations were released. After word went around that the film was made and recorded so that it looked like everything was done in one single shot, people had to see this movie for themselves. It's safe to assume that Sam Mendes' World War I tale is a favorite frontrunner for Best Picture alongside Parasite. Now, with all that being taken into account, Dolittle barely had anything which can attract attention, other than the fact that Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland was in it. And maybe to those meme experts, there was... John Cena! No, seriously. If they had picked a time frame where a lot of mediocre movies were being made, then maybe this film would show more financial success during its opening weekend. But hey, that didn't happen, so the money just didn't show up. Again, the stars don't define the film. They didn't learn from Cats, so now we see a slew of these good actors in a movie like this. It wasn't a nightmarish pile of steaming hot sludge like Cats, but it still was a bad movie whether you like it or not. I'll honestly never get over Octavia Spencer playing a character named fucking Dab Dab.
I ain't say come, but she at the hotel. Fucking nigga.
If there's one thing they learned, they got a major CGI boost. The CGI was definitely a major plus for this movie. It's what kept it going if you ask me. The environments were stunning and eye-catching, and the animals actually look great and show some level of expression, which makes it automatically better than the Lion King remake. Robert Downey Jr. just couldn't make Dolittle work as a character. Everyone liked Tony Stark, snarky, gutsy, and he wrapped up the Infinity Saga of the Marvel Cinematic Universe on a seriously high note, which left everyone basically shedding out tears like it was a goddamn waterfall. But that's over now. No one cares about Endgame anymore apart from the MCU stanners who literally cannot live without sucking Robert's dick 24/7, 365. And I'm going with the wild assumption that people only came to see Dolittle because they thought Robert Downey Jr. can play Dolittle as well as he did with Tony Stark, but it just didn't work. And honestly, in my opinion, one of the reasons why is because he didn't know how he should play Dolittle. It felt like he was trying to go for a mix between Doctor Strange and Willy Wonka. And I'm not even talking about Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, I'm talking Johnny Depp. And even then, Tim Burton gave that adaptation of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory a real mad twist to the whole tale. So Johnny Depp's off-putting take on Willy Wonka worked, but this isn't a Tim Burton movie. It felt like Robert was trying too hard to be overly quirky and weird, so much that it felt painfully forced in some aspects. And when he does display calmness, it seemed so out of place, like as if he's insecure, like Tony Stark insecure. It's safe to say that when he played Dolittle, he just couldn't let Tony Stark go as a character. He just couldn't make Dr. Dolittle work. And honestly, before the MCU, it looked like he couldn't make anything work. Tony Stark was his big break, and it's gone. This is only the start after the MCU, so I really don't know what can happen. But if the bad performances continue from here on out, Robert Downey Jr. might end up being where he once was before he became Tony Stark. Even worse, he might end up being a one-trick pony. In closing, it's safe to say that Dolittle did a lot better compared to Cats, which is a definite plus. But there's just too many flaws for me to ignore in the end. Universal is set on making yet another net loss, which means it'll be the second time in a row where they failed to regain their money back. It's either going to be third time's the charm for them, or Universal just needs to rethink their model on how they're going to make movies for the next coming months or years. And yes, while I am perfectly aware of the fact that Universal was responsible for 1917, two wrongs don't make a right, and this is taken quite literally in this case. So they need to square up, because if they don't, they're really gonna be left out of the film industry as a whole. Okay, so this took longer than usual to make, mainly because I was out on vacation. That and I was inflicted with a sickness, and with all the rage going on recently, I'm not gonna rule out that it might have been the Chinese bioweapon, the Wuhan virus. If the assumption is true, then I will die in 10 days.
What?